All right, let's get to it. Happy Monday. So today, because I don't have any gigs this week, and this drum has seen a lot of action, I'm going to finally replace this snare drum head. So first things first, this is the drum. It is a chrome over brass Ludwig 5x14 Superphonic B stock. These are some of the best bargain deals you can get. It's a high quality seamless brass shell that is discounted because there's some sort of tiny imperfection somewhere in the finish. Some of the best deals you can get. B stock, chrome over brass. It's a heavy drum. I've used this on every gig since I think this whole year. I was using a wood drum last year. So probably since March, this has seen, probably roughly 10 hours of use a week since March. And I haven't changed the head once. Should probably have this camera not be scrolling so you can see what I'm talking about. This was a prototype Drum Factory Direct 1-ply head, 10 mil with DuPont Mylar, similar to a Coda Ambassador, a G1, or it's very similar to the Ludwig, like their own factory-made heads. The coating's a little bit less coarse, a little bit thinner, which is why we are calling them classic style. But I've used this thing a ton. You can see there's a little bit of wear in the middle, but the coating is still pretty good. It's starting to feel, like last night, it started to feel a little bit soft. So I think it's time to change it. We're gonna pop it off and kind of see how it fared. See how divoted it is or isn't. Before I do that, I wanna just document where it's tuned. So I'll get the trusty tune bot out here. Surprise, surprise, it is 185 Hertz, F sharp, which is where I tend to like most drums for like an all-purpose sound. So let's take this head off. My God, how do I turn notifications off? Goodness. All right, so again, I've got the Evans drill bit drum key, which is a time saver. All right, let's assess the damage. So just set the hoop over here. Hopefully it doesn't fall. I do have 3 gels on this one. 3 of the 1-inch round drum dot kind of things, because I don't want a whole lot of overtone on the gigs I've been doing recently. It needs to be kind of a focused sound. Yeah, it's pretty well worn. You can see in that angle and that reflection, it's pretty well ashtrayed out, which is what I was starting to feel last night. It was starting to feel kind of soft. And a telltale sign for me is if I feel like I have to add tension to the head just to get it to feel right, but that might actually take the pitch higher than I want it to go, then I know that the head is done. And that's kind of what happened last night. I feel like I had to add just a little bit of tension to it to get it to not feel so soft. And yeah, it's pretty well. Let's go back to this angle. You can really see it right there, that reflection. It's pretty well divoted in the middle. So not just the coating wearing out, that didn't bother me, but it was the feel of it. I could tell it was at the end of its lifespan. So it's time to change it. Good test though. These are good heads. They're super affordable. I'm happy that the coating lasted as long as it did. And it was that durable for like 6 months at least of gigging every week. I mean, I'm not swinging from the fences, but I'm hitting. I would say I'm hitting moderately hard most of the night. So there's that old head. Take that in so we can assess it as a staff. I'm going to replace it with my favorite all-purpose batter head, Evans G1 coated. It seems to work on every drum for any situation, unless I'm really smashing. Then I might go to a G2, or I've used the heavyweight when I used to play hard rock, and that's a cool head too, but this tends to work. So this is the same thickness as what I'm replacing it with. They're both 10 mil, but you can see the coating on a G1 is much thicker than the coating on our TFT heads. So that's why we're calling this classic style. It's like a lighter coating. This is a pretty opaque. You can't see any light through this. So let's plop it on. I'm gonna just put it, badge is right there. See, I'm not gonna line up with the badge. It's a 10 lug drum. I put the throw off to the side. Yeah, I'll just put it by the badge. That works. All right. I'm not super concerned about keeping the hoop in the same spot. What's up, John? I would only be worried about keeping the hoop in the same spot if this was a super old drum and the hoop was kind of dented and bent, kind of conforming to the shell over time. This is a new drum. The hoop is in perfect condition, so it doesn't really matter. All right. Now, as I said before, last time I did one of these, I do use the drill to put the head on, but only to get it down to essentially finger tight. It just saves time. Like finger tight all the way around. Not even finger tight, just down to where then I can do the finishing touches by twisting it. Just save, I don't know, 30 seconds of time. Hey, thank you. I love your channel, man. Learned a lot. Great sounds you got going on over there. All right. Just getting it finger tight. And I'm just going to bring it up to the F sharp because that's where I left it off before. I'm not going to worry about overstretching the head. I've found with these Evans that I don't need to really... Yeah, man, I've been watching your stuff forever, for years. Some of those Brady drums back, I don't know how many years ago that was. Wish I never would have given back the Bradys that I tested. Okay, so finger tight. I'm not going to be super meticulous at this point. I'm just going to take 2 keys, go up half turn on each. So that's a half turn. I'll do another 1/3 of a turn roughly, just kind of by feel. Here, I'll have the cameras scroll around so it's a little bit more interesting to look at. It's starting to feel like the head is seating. sense of where it's at. So at the D, that's about a third below where it needs to be. I'll do another quarter turn all the way around. D sharp already. It's crazy how little tension you really need. All right, get to the F. You can hear now that the drum is starting to get into head voice. Just kind of where I want it to be. I want it to be crisp and controlled with just enough body so it doesn't sound anemic. So that's an F sharp. Mr. McLean, what's up, dude? Look at this. Look at this. Love it. You know, I went away from these sticks for a while because I got basically ordered everything that's in a 5A, 5B world, 8D world from ProMark just to try them out. And I'm using the Finesse 5A long on gigs. But when I came back to this, man, this thing might be the most perfectly balanced stick, dude. You nailed it. I mean, that's with zero fine tuning. I think it's right where it needs to be. I don't know if I'm going to need all these gels either, but I'll just put them on to kind of get back to where we started at least. I can hear my office computer's going crazy over there. Someone is trying to connect with me. All right. So with this head, which I knew was going to be the case because the coating is thicker than what I was using, 3 gels is too many. I would love to leave it open, but some of these gigs, man, the rooms don't sound too good. Two is nice. Let's go to 1. See what we got. John, no, I haven't touched the bottom head. It should just be an F sharp where it, I mean, it's probably not. Let's see where it's at. Thanks, Carter. Yeah, it's Dan Drumstone hooked me up with getting this thing dialed in. And I'm using all the Drum Factory Direct cameras, which are Panasonic GH5s out there, GH2s over here. Audio, man, I've got a, I mean, this might be a $99 mixer over here. Elisa's crappy mixer with the Yamaha E8010 overhead kick. That's it. The big thing, which you can attest to, is the audio mute treatment. The room has basically been removed from the equation. So you don't hear any reflections. I'm not dealing with any weirdness. It is basically a vacuum in here in a good way. So this makes all the difference. Allows me to just use the 2 mics. All right, bottom head. Let's really see if I can be accurate here. I know it was at an F sharp at one point, but I'm sure it's detuned after months of gigging and not ever touching it. Also, 16 strand wires, pure sounds, not 20s. It's super low. Kind of surprised. It is way, way low. Yeah, man, we're gonna make it work. You could actually just stay here unless you really wanted to have a hotel. Actually, no, we'd probably put you up over by the airport. That way you don't have to worry about commuting to the airport on Monday. So yeah, the bottom head is, it's set at a C, which I find hard to believe. But I'm not going to touch it. Let's see if we can fine tune it, but I think this sounds cool. Now that I can tell the bottom head is low, which is weird. I'm just gonna do a tiny little bit of tightening, not a bunch. I'm just gonna leave it around the wires where it is. Just take the other 6 up a bit. Let's see where it's at. I dig it. 1 gel, I think, is going to be the move. I will definitely keep these. My trick, I just put the extra gels on the side of the shell. That way, if I'm on a gig and it's like, I need a little bit more, just look on the side. There it is. So I'll just fine tune it. Let's see if I can get it even more awesomer. I haven't touched any fine tuning. It's still at an F sharp fundamental, which is what I want. So a testament to just the quality of this drum and the drum head, they just by tuning it up evenly, they're actually all the same. They're hitting pretty much the same frequency. No fine tuning needed. Love it. How do you like snare weight dampeners? I have the drum that was on this kit before, which is the kit I'm using with Jeff Taylor for this gig coming up. I have the original snare weight, so it's the big heavy chunk of brass with some prototype of the leather strips. So that, whatever that version became, the M1 or whatever it is. Love it. I use it on that drum. It gives me the density. I think for a pretty heavily muffled sound, that seems to be the best option versus 0 rings or whatever. I don't actually like gels. I kind of hate them, but I have so many of them. So I've been on this crusade this past year to use all the gels on everything so they all get dirty and at once, so I can just finally throw them all away and never use them ever again. I don't like gels. I would prefer gaffer's tape or rings or the snare weight, because inevitably they just get dirty and gooey and stick to the cases and whatever else. So if you see a ton of gels on my stuff, it's because I'm trying to use them all up at the same time. I got them on top and bottom, so then I can just throw them all away. The drum sounds fantastic. By the way, this ride cymbal, if you haven't checked it out. It's also become my favorite. I think this might be the sound I've been searching for kind of an old K sound. It's the Nicky Moon Hawthorne Series 22. Love it. So anyway, that is the 5x14 chrome over brass Ludwig Superphonic B stock. Again, if you want to grab a deal, get a B stock Superphonic or a Black Beauty. They're basically the real deal with some sort of issue with the finish that they can't sell for full price. So I think I paid like $350 for this, $350 for this thing. Is definitely paid for itself with all the gigging. Give them to someone? No, I would not give anyone any gels because I don't want to share the misery with anyone else. I mean, they do work. They do what they're designed to do. And for convenience of, just quickly put them on, it's cool. I have to try the Evans EQ pods. Is that what they're called? I got to try those. That might be the solution, so then, because they're not sticky on top. Like with some of these here, I actually put a piece of plastic. I'll show you. These dots, which they're leaving a green circle on the drum head, which is a pain in the butt. But with these dots, I actually put a piece of plastic on top of them so they're not sticky. Which I think that's what the Evans EQ pods do. They're not sticky on top. And hopefully they won't leave a red stain. It's like these green things are leaving a green stain. So you're saying all of the colored gels or just these green ones? They stain an Evans head more than a Remo head. That is interesting. Why would that be? I guess it's whatever the paint that they're using absorbs more of the dye from the gels. I mean, clear gels, come on companies. Just make them clear. Although this clear one looks like a freaking boogie now. It's gross. So even the clear ones just get really gross. So I'll order some of the Evans one and maybe I'll do a follow-up. Oh, moon gels. Yeah, the moon gels just kind of dissolve over time too, which is really strange. I haven't had that issue with these. I don't remember which company it is. Drum Dots. I've got so many different versions. They're all basically the same. They don't dissolve, but they just get like gross and kind of lose their vibe. So I would much rather just use some gaffer's tape. It's easy, it's clean. You can pull it off, throw it away. You don't have to. It's cheap. You can just throw a roll in your hardware case. But I will try out the EQ pods. Calvin. Yeah, the 1 series is my gigging sound. So this kit is very specialized. I don't take these cymbals out on gigs. At least not yet. My everyday gigging kit is 1 series. I have a 20 medium thin, 14-inch hats, 18-inch crash, 18-inch sizzle crash. That's like my primary everyday gigging set, which are all the 1 series from Nicky Moon. They seem to be, which makes sense, he called it the 1 series because it's all the qualities of the best cymbals in one. Was kind of the design. So it has a little bit of Peisty clarity. It has the old Turk kind of warmth. It's got the Zildjian consistency. So in every room they sound good, whereas some of these more kind of old K style, certain rooms they just sound either too dry or kind of just too gnarly. I think I just answered your question a second ago, but the 1 series was the first series that Nick designed that was of his own creation. It wasn't a recreation of anything that existed. It wasn't like a commission to recreate an old K or recreate an old A. It was his design of what he wanted a cymbal to be. So 1 cymbal to do it all was why I called it the 1 series. So you have the regular 1 series, which is, like I said, a culmination of everything, some Turkish style, some Zildjian style, some Peisty style, all wrapped up into one. Then he put out the 1 series Old World, which is what this one is here. So it's old K. It's supposed to be like your Holy Grail coveted old K. But again, he took all of the qualities of the old Ks that everyone loves and put them into one consistent style of 20. And then there's a 1 series Clear, which is the A custom, super clean, old A sound. All the qualities of a clean, crisp musical cymbal into one. So the 1 series has 3 segments, I believe. There's just a regular 1 series. There's a 1 series Clear, which leans more towards a Zildjian Peisty sound. And there's the 1 series Old World, which is the old K sound. Connor, what sort of auxiliary hats did you have Nick make you? These were These were a pair of, I'll just show you the top. Zildjian 12-inch A special recording hats they were brilliant finish special recording hats that just weren't sounding, they were just sounding really dull and kind of stiff. So I just gave them a nick and I said, do whatever the hell you need to do to make them not sound like poop. And if anything, make them weirder, make them sound kind of electronic. So he really thinned them out. Like the top is pretty thin. He did this back in 2019. Put a pretty crazy patina on it, which I think kind of was the first iteration of what became the Sage series finish, which is technically my signature series. So he did that, and then on the bottom, because there was just a weird overtone that you couldn't get rid of, you kind of went hog wild on the bottom, cut some chunks out of it to get rid of some hollowness, hammered the hell out of it. They both are hammered pretty extensively, and then added some rivets. So it gives it like some kind of white noise electronic sustain. And at the time I was playing with this band, Dion, around New York, and I was doing, basically I was recreating, I was triggering samples and loops while playing acoustic drums. So everything had to kind of sound electronic and kind of gritty. So these were the primary hi-hats with that band. They're pretty wild. So they kind of have the square pusher sound. If you know the record Feed Me Strange Things, or is it Feed Me Weird Things? Whatever it is, the classic square pusher record. That was kind of the reference. Make it sound like that, like a gritty lo-fi 12-inch hi-hat. Calvin, you're asking, are you using the Yamaha E8010 for these sounds? Yes, I'm using, I've answered this a bunch, but I'm happy to answer it every time. 3 microphones. There's an overhead mic. Literally, I can touch it with the tip of my finger right now. So it's over roughly the center of the kit, aimed slightly towards the floor tom. That's a blue Dragonfly large diaphragm condenser. I have a Shure Beta 52A in front of the bass drum, probably about 4 inches away from the front of the head, just slightly off center, maybe an inch off center. That's my only mics. And then I have the E8010 here on the batter side. So mix-wise, bass drum straight up, overhead straight up. E8010 is probably at about 10 o'clock. So I can do this. I'll do kick drum, then I'll bring in the overhead, and I'll bring in the E8010. So this is just the kick. And on this cheap mixer, I've got the high end at about 3 o'clock, the low end at about 3 o'clock, mid-range is 11:30, pretty much straight up the middle. See you, John. Thanks for tuning in. Overhead, I'll bring that in. So I'll just play some kick snare. So that's now even with the kick drum. EQ wise, the high EQ, the high EQ is at 12 kilohertz, 3 o'clock. The low, which is at 80 hertz, is at 3 o'clock. And then the mid-range, I'm pulling a bunch. The mid-range is at 2.5 kilohertz. I've got that at 9 o'clock. So I'm pulling out a fair amount of mids in the overhead. And now the special sauce, I'll bring in the E8010. So the E8010 gives me the little extra snap and sizzle because it's stereo. It widens things up. It brings in some kick attack. I'm using the stereo reverb in the E8010, but it's only at 1.5 notches above 0. Not using the compression or anything else. And then on the mixer, I'm using preset 30, which is a chamber reverb only on the overhead. I mean, it's barely audible. I bring it up till it's like barely audible. So with the reverb, I'll take it off way too far up and then where I normally have it. So that's where it sits. It's just a little bit. What's up, Carlito? Man, you've been covering a bunch of shows, huh? I kind of miss it. So I was driving down to DC to play a gig on, when was that? Saturday? I was thinking, man, I could be driving to the other city right now. Yeah, so that's the chamber reverb at about 30%. I mean, it's just barely audible. And then I did add, last week, I did add outboard EQ, which is a cheap DBX 215 graphic equalizer, just to do some basic sculpting that you would do on any kind of mix with a little bit of low end boost, a bunch of mid-range kind of ducking, a tiny little bit of high, but it's like barely even 1 dB of moves there. That's just to kind of clean it up a little bit, and then I'm running that into this also very cheap ART SC2 2-channel compressor limiter. I have it on the limiter setting, and when I smack a backbeat, at its most extreme, it's dropping down 6 dB of gain reduction. It's kind of living more around 3. So with the compressor, I'm just trying to bring up the stream volume without affecting the sound itself. Just trying to boost the overall volume of the stream because it felt a little quiet to me. On the beach chilling. I haven't been to the beach. I haven't had a vacation. I don't even want to admit how many years it's been. I haven't had a day off. Thinking about it. I don't think I have an actual day off since May. That's the problem with being a weekend warrior. I got a full-time job, and then pretty much every weekend I'm gigging. So yeah, it's technically fun, and I'm making music, but I don't get days off very often. Yeah, the beach. I haven't been to the beach since probably 2019. Now I live in Pittsburgh. I'm even further away. So, oh well. If you love your work, you're never working, I guess. Okay, so any other questions? I mean, this drum, how long did that take me to tune? I thought for sure it would take me 20 minutes, but 5 minutes? I just know F sharp seems to be the happy place for kind of a medium high tuning. And that's pretty much where it is, 187 hertz. It's like, I think tightening the bottom head brought it up 2 hertz. That's it. I'll see how it sounds on the gig. I can tell immediately because I played this drum for 3 hours last night. It sounds darker, a little bit darker with the G1 versus the DFD classic style, even though they're the same thickness. I think just because the coating on this guy is a little bit thinner, it was just giving me a little bit more open tone, which then required me for certain rooms to add the extra gels. So with this, with the G1, I only need the 1 gel at the moment, and it's sounding pretty nice and full and rich. So we'll see how it fares. I got no gigs this week, and then next week I'm back on it. So it'll have a week to just kind of settle. Also, what I'm noticing in this room, I have to loosen the wires a bit to get it to kind of feel balanced. But almost every gig I'm playing these days is in a non-acoustically perfect space, and the wires have to be tighter to kind of bring everything in. Probably more like that is where it lives on most gigs. What did we play last night that was super fun? It's Your Thing. That's the vibe. It's kind of hard to beat that sound, in my opinion. For like a general, you can feasibly use this on any situation. You could dampen it more for something that needs to be more controlled. You could pull the gel off if it needs to be super wild and crazy. It is brass. It is a chrome over brass 5x14 Ludwig Superphonic B stock. Brand new, like probably, I don't know, I got it this year, so 6 months old or whatever. The lavalier on-off switch is the Rolls MS111 mic switch. I had the pedal thing that a lot of, the mic commute or whatever it's called, that a lot of people are using. It was too unreliable to where I was, having, like, I don't really need to immediately switch from playing and talking. And there was just too many times when I would hit it thinking it was muting the mic, and then I'd play the drums and it would just explode through the lavalier. So I still have that. I just don't use it. I don't want a foot switch. So this, you could use this as a foot switch, but it's designed to be a tabletop thing. The button's a little bit chunkier. So you kind of, and it actually goes down and stays down when the mic is muted instead of just popping back up. So you can't mistake it. So yeah, that's the Rolls MS111 mic switch. It has like a blue case. I got it off of Reverb. Wasn't super cheap, but it wasn't too expensive either. And the lavalier itself is an Audio-Technica, which has an off switch as well. But you can hear that pop, so that's kind of a drag. So yeah, that's that thing. Super crucial. Well, I didn't really play any drums, but that's it. I gotta hop off. Any other questions? Oh, you have the same thing? Yeah, it's kind of it's the vibe. I know Johnson uses the foot switch. A bunch of people use the foot switch, and I liked it, but it was just too unreliable for me, for my inaccurate left foot movements. Okay, gotta go. Got a bunch of things to do today. Get yourself, I should probably A/B this with the Bucks County Satin Brass, but that's tuned for something very specific for the Jeff Taylor stuff, so it's much lower and darker. It can still do what this does too, but this has been my gigging workhorse 5x14 chrome over brass Superphonic B stock, now outfitted with an Evans G1 coated. All right, have a good day. Tomorrow's Tuesday. I don't have anything to do. I'll be back on noon-ish Eastern time tomorrow. See ya.